never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
G'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're having a hope you're having a reasonable day of it. I know if you're down south, I believe there's been a bit of spraying going on down there, so you got a bit of rain coming your way. I'm not sure if Sandy's in the room yet. I know Vince was first in the chat this evening. That's very rare, but well done, old boy. Margot followed him in shortly thereafter. The lovely Donna, Tony, how are you, mate? And what the Michelle Bradley Smith, I should say. I've got to get it all right. And, well, the usual crew. G'day, Rachel. Hope you're well. And I know Jimmy will be getting dressed up for his big day tomorrow. This is going to sound very stupid, but Black Sheep's father is being laid to rest tomorrow. Jimmy is Black Sheep's father's dog, who's now Rachel's housemate. Let's just say that for the time being, shall we? But he's going to look pretty special tomorrow, and there'll be pictures tomorrow night. I have no doubt. After the service, he's going to look pretty flash, so I'm looking forward to seeing those. G'day, Paul Orchard. I hope you are well. Paul Bartlett, g'day to you. I don't know if you're in the show yet, but I got your email, and I appreciate that. Hopefully we can get to Toowoomba and catch up, mate. It's been a while. Jinder Lee, the lovely Connie. I hope you are well. Kathy Pike, lovely to see you in. Eyeball, mate, I wasn't expecting you in. We're going to talk a little bit later on, but there you go. That'll be after the show. The lovely Jude and Denise, a whole crew. Look, I can't go and say hello to everybody. J1, the usual guys. Thank you all for coming in and joining us. It is a wonderful family that we have, and I feel so proud that this family reaches out and helps in so many ways. And I'm going to ask you at the head of the show tonight to pray for a few things initially, but initially two people. Somebody that you've heard me speak about on this show over the years, and somebody who is very close to me. She's a wonderful lady. She's been a great support and a great friend, and somebody filled with wisdom. Unfortunately, she's also been filled with quite a few other cancerous things, as it turns out. And her name is Margie Sedgman. Now, Margie is back in hospital at the moment, and the good Lord has seen fit to help her get surgery tomorrow after she fell down last Friday and broke her arm. The big problem with getting surgery to pin her arm back together again is that she has cancer in that arm, and they weren't sure that they could put anything in there that was going to stick, so to speak. So that amongst many other things. She is a survivor. She is a battler. She is doing everything, all the protocols that the most staunch of our anti-big pharma people would follow. And this is a lady who's done her research and knows her shit. She managed to keep herself alive in a hospital, in fact, in multiple hospitals, by feeding or getting her own food, her own supplements and everything, rather than eating what the hospital was giving her. And that essentially gave her the strength to do things she needed to do. She is a powerhouse of a lady, but she needs your prayers at this time to recover from this arm break. Pardon me, and the surgery that's going to be required. Also, prayers continue for Paul Offey. Now, the jury went home over the weekend, and I think I told you last night, the jury were unable to deliberate yesterday at all because one of them was sick. They turned up for work today, and the jury did commence deliberations at about 20 to 10 this morning, and they wound up being excused and let off for the day at about 20 past 4 this afternoon. They only asked for one clarification around 2 o'clock this afternoon, and the judge spent some time toing and froing about how best to explain or make that clarification very clear to them. And I'm not sure that they did so to the boys or to the defence's satisfaction, but we'll see what happens. At any rate, of the 12 jurors, they are now still deliberating. So I take this as a reasonably good sign, in that there is no immediate guilty verdict, and potentially there could be a hung jury. It's difficult to talk much about this case because it is still active, but when we are able, we are going to talk about this case a great deal, because some of the things that have occurred in this case are, in my opinion, and who am I, but in my opinion, are an absolute travesty at law, let alone just morally. But you should never get upset about morals when you're talking about the law, because the law has no morals. So, lot to talk about and unpack in the near future. So please keep Paul and his legal team, Paul's family, in your prayers for the rest of the week, and at least for tomorrow. The jury will hopefully come back with a verdict tomorrow. If they don't come back with a verdict, they will go back to deliberate again, one would say. The judge might give them further direction, or they might just say, listen, we can't come to a unanimous decision. And I believe the unanimous decision needs to be 11, I think, but I could be very wrong. It is the ACT Supreme Court, and they do make up their own rules. All right, Australia unites against government corruption, and that's something I think we can all get behind. It doesn't matter what your neighbour thinks, whether they've been down a rabbit hole, whether they refuse rabbit holes, whether they believe in UFOs, they don't believe in UFOs. If the earth is round or flat, it doesn't matter. What does matter is that all of the things that are happening to us, the things that we complain about most in our lives, are being done to us by government. Now, we don't have to explain who that government is, or how unjust, or how corrupt, or how illegal, how foreign it is. It's pretty easy to understand, regardless who you are, at whatever level of government you interact with, from local to state to federal, that something smells pretty crook, like a bag of prawns left in the sun. It ain't going to be pleasant. And what this weekend's rally, the purpose of this weekend's rally is to unite all of Australians. And it's something we can all, I believe, get behind, because we all understand and have been touched by this level of corruption, whether it be bureaucratic corruption, governmental corruption. Bureaucratic, governmental sort of go hand in hand. But we've all been touched by it, and we've all been annoyed by it. And they keep touching us, just like the pedophiles they are. They get one go and they've got to come back for more, the filth. So unite, people. Get behind this in wherever you are, whatever capital city you are in, whatever small town, regional city, and there are a number of these events happening in regional cities. And if there isn't one already set up in your event, then maybe you can organize one. Get on Facebook, see what you can do. Just hold a stand in the park. Anything like that will be a benefit on September the 13th. Make sure you get, if you are doing something like that, you get it on social media. Get it all over social media. And there isn't room, I would have thought, in any speeches anywhere, regardless of the size of the event or venue, there isn't room for any speech that isn't about the corruption in our government. Calls must be, in my opinion, to our police, our judiciary, our military, to do something about this. And it is a message that and I'm going to call them factions, because that's how they're acting, like bloody primary school factions. Every faction is being unjustly treated, and if they get into the courts, probably unjustly treated through the courts as well, by this corrupt government. Every person, every normie is affected by this. Not about what the Nazis say, not about what the Palestinians say, because some people, large portions of the audience, couldn't give a flying frog turd about either side of the argument. They care about being able to take their family down to the beach, have a game of cricket and a barbecue without getting into a punch-on with a bunch of people who come over and say, your women have got to get dressed a certain way, or we don't like you eating meat, or we don't think you should be able to do this, or this. That's not the Australian way. All right? We love to welcome people in. Bring your cricket bat, bring your ball, and bring whatever kind of sausage you think's going to fit on the barbie and you'll eat, mate, because we don't care. All right? We care if you're a decent bowler or a reasonable batsman. We care if you're a good tradesperson. We care a lot more if you're a bad one, but you probably don't like that sort of attention. Anyway, let's get on to what's going on in Adelaide. Mark Aldridge has been on the show before, and I'm sorry I've rambled on a bit longer than I'd intended with all of that, Mark. So nice to have you on, mate. You're the organiser for the event, the rally against governmental corruption in Adelaide this weekend. Thank you for standing up, and I hope you haven't had the same problems as Mary Jane has. There's no bridge you're marching across, so that's probably a good start.
I think there's lots of bridges to cross for all of us, my friend. And I like your speech at the beginning anyway, so you can rant on as often as you want because what you're saying is absolutely correct. And yeah,
I just think we have to come together on one point. One of the biggest problems I see with these marches that we have, or these rallies that we have, and these national events that we have, is that there is a dog-eat-dog war that goes on for time on every one of those stages. And you'd be in a position to tell me about that, wouldn't you, Mark?
look, I stepped in on the 31st one, so I ran the 31st, which was the NSN word in the background of that. I wasn't aware. So yeah, look, all I did was try and control the messaging on the day because there was meant to be a certain messaging for that. People came based on a certain messaging, so I tried to stick to that messaging. The difference between the 31st and this one is that people are upset, and rightfully so, across the country. And as people wake up, they wake up to realising that they're in trouble and the country's in trouble, and they're not sure who to blame. And the government would have you blame each other. And that's what they want. They want to divide us and make all of us angry against each other. But the problem is the government. If it's immigration, it's the gatekeeper. Who lets how many in and when and who they let in.
Yeah.
Rules and regulations could be better. We could be, there's countries out there that are Muslim that don't have the issues that other countries have that are Muslim because they have regulations and laws in place. We don't have those laws and those regulations in place. We have a beat you with a stick type of attitude where if you question anything the government's doing, we'll call you a naysayer of some kind. I'll call you a racist or an anti-vaxxer or whatever it is they might call you. And with the concept of we'll just belittle your voice. And I think people are sick to death of their voice being belittled. I mean, the government really has to start to listen. And I think when we start to see numbers as we have in recent times, that maybe they have to listen. Maybe their advisors are saying, be careful. But, I think waiting for a next election to try and bring change, it hasn't worked very well for us as a country at all. And I think we need to really stand up. And I think it needs to move forward and adapt continuously. And if they're not going to listen to us in large numbers, then maybe we just stay home and don't go to work. Maybe we don't spend. Maybe we withdraw all our money out of the banks. There's got to be things that we can do to protect ourselves because it's not it's not me and you that we're protecting here, mate. It's the kids, and we don't want to leave our country in this state of affairs to our children. That would just be appropriate.
So don't forget to like and subscribe, folks. We really do need the thumbs up. And if you're not already a subscriber, we could really use your vote there too. The algorithm's been killing us for years, quite literally. And I imagine we're getting a few new viewers tonight for a variety of different reasons. Mark, one of the things that concerns me about these national events is the coordination of the messages being put out on all the stages at the same time. Is there a core group where you all get together and you talk about how these are going to be run and exactly what messaging the event is going to be putting forward?
Look, I would have thought that would be the ideal way of running it. With the earlier protests on the 31st, that didn't really happen. In fact, any messaging I put out was kind of opposed because I was trying to put out the messaging that I was being sold. This is different. I mean, in this case, the messaging really is government corruption. But then, of course, people say, what is government corruption? And I said, government corruption is every aspect of your lives, anything that's not right. If you go to a court nowadays, as you would know, they don't allow you to go in, they don't allow you to have support, they like to do everything in secret. That is part of government corruption. If they're letting too many people to come in the country, that's government corruption. If they allow councils, right, to somehow exert powers on Crown land to remove homeless people in tents, that's corruption. And so we need to start to realise that at every level of governance and every section of the government too. I mean, I've tackled in my lifetime councils. I've tackled the police for not acting properly. I've tackled the courts for not acting properly. I've taken the state to court for not acting proprietary. And you know, it doesn't sound like much to people when until it affects them. But what I'm seeing now is there was so much bad in this world. There's so much going wrong. There's so much open corruption. It was 10 years ago they hid it. But now they don't hide the corruption. They think they can just belittle you by calling your names and you'll go away. And I think that's a testament to the fact that Labor in this state, you know, in this country won on 34%. I mean, obviously, it tells you how dodgy even the electoral system itself is. And so when we try and create something like this, you'd think there'd be a lot of really good people working together, but I don't see that very often. The last rally, I sort of just took over and tried to make it decent, and it worked out very well in South Australia for us. This rally, I don't think the messaging's solid enough. I think the messaging could have been defined better. But of course, we're adapting as it goes. So I think these types of things are reactive, and you adapt. You know, it's a numbers game. So obviously, we're not going to be effectively sending any sort of message unless we have numbers. So we've got to read the public really well and then adapt. And so it can be seen a bit chaotic to a lot of people, but I think there is a basis to what we're doing. But if you get any 10 people together and try and discuss politics, as you would know, there's differences, and there's differences in how we will run each state's rallies. And I think that's okay. I think that's grassroots. Grassroots tends to stem from the bottom up, and politics stems from the top down. So I think it's acceptable that we are as we are. But of course, that can be picked up as mixed messaging. But my problem is, as I'm watching social media, is that people are just so angry. Their lives are so poorly, so hard for them to live. You know, there's nearly 4 million people can't put food on the table. There's 140,000 people living on the streets. That sort of angst, that sort of anger, and that sort of pain and suffering for families results in aggression online rather than unity. And so you really do need leaders of these events to try and unify people and give them a direction as to where we're going. So government corruption is a very good start to a rally, and the headline's fabulous. But of course, we need to define that for people and remind them, you know, who the enemy is.
I think every speaker should be able to bring an example of the corruption they've faced in their life, whether that be at a council, state, or federal level, whether that be a bureaucratic piece of bullshit, or whether that be not necessarily a judicial piece of bullshit, because that can be a fraught with a little bit of danger. But you know, if people have always, all people have had some kind of dealing with bureaucracy. They've been stopped from building a shed, or they can't, you know, chop down a tree that's leaning dangerously in their yard because there's, you know, some fairy penguin that lives up around the corner and it might want to use it to shit under one day or something. This sort of stupidity and these levels have affected every person in this country. And it is the corruption of the bureaucracy and the government that we need to push back against. So I would urge all the speakers who are going to be given the privilege of addressing audiences. It is a privilege you are given. Now, at the moment, there is a fierce battle for control of the platform, the stages. Not so much in Adelaide, as you've pointed out, Mark, but we'll get to talk more about Sydney and Melbourne in the near future in tonight's show. But I'm pleased that that's not happening, at least not at the moment, in Adelaide, and I hope it stays that way. And I haven't heard that that's happening in Perth, and I haven't heard that that's happening in Darwin. So yip yeah, I'm really pleased that that's going on. But the messaging, I mean, the speeches need to be on message. Don't come out and rant and rave and complain about, whoever it is coming in from overseas taking our jobs. Those people are not the problem. The immigrants who have been given a great opportunity by the Australian government. Now, the government sees it as a great opportunity because they're making a shitload of money out of it that isn't translating into Australian benefits for the people here in this country. It's translating into high unemployment, really high rental cost and low availability. Same for housing. New houses being built, the lies the Australian government is telling about that, and the fact that they're trying to do an international deal to bring in overseas workers to build 1 million houses using UAE money. Look, the corruption is endemic everywhere. You don't need to bring another argument. So I would urge anybody who has been given the privilege of speaking in front of people this weekend to take that privilege seriously and stay on topic.
That's the hardest thing. I mean, I got a hard time for cutting a mic at my last rally, and I understand that. People take the approach that everyone's got a right to speak or free speech, and of course they do. When you held a rally, you've got topics and you've got educated people to speak quickly and clearly on that topic if you can do that. And I've given all our speakers 2 minutes, which, as you know, will flow on to 2.5, 3 minutes each. I don't think there's any need to have more than that, but it can't be an open mic situation because, look, the problem we face, all of us really, is we look at who the enemy is, and we know it's the government in the majority, but it's not just the government, and you know this. The mainstream media are part and parcel of the problem. The last thing you want to do is feed them any energy. Make them look for it. Make them attack us using the weakest of arguments, so people can start to see through the mainstream media more often, rather than just hand them something on a platter. And this is the problem with the NSM, for instance. Like, there's a bunch of young lads. They care for the country. Unfortunately, they go a little bit off skew and they start to hate everybody. Yeah, and I understand why people do that. But the messaging has to be clear and concise, as you said. And if you start to have people coming up doing the whole you're from a different race, you should be leave or you should be killed or whatever, that sort of just right out there stuff, it doesn't help the messaging from the rally. It doesn't help their image. I mean, there's issues. There is a lot of issues in allowing just anybody to have free speech at a rally. That's a bit different than trying to stem free speech online. I run a fairly big social media site, and I don't attack free speech at all. I think if it becomes personal, every now and then you see something very personal that's just over the top, and you think, okay, I'll hide that. But I don't stem free speech online. But when someone's holding a rally, I think you need to at least accept that there's an attempt, at least, to keep everything on topic. And that's why just everybody can't just get up from the street and speak for 5 minutes and bore people to death with their own personal experiences.
Indeed. Well, yeah, indeed. If you could turn your personal experience into something that was, a tangible example of the corruption, and that experience might not be unique to your speaker. It's going to unite the normies that have had the same problem. So I'm not the only person. This is how they're ripping us off. Yeah, well, I don't like that. We're going to bring more people. And what we need is more people to the rally. All right. Essentially, once they're at the rally, we've lost the argument. Whatever comes out of the PA with the people who are speaking is what comes out. What we need to show everybody in this country is that it's not 50,000 people like Albo Sleazy came out and said the other day about the march on the 31st of August. There wasn't 50,000 people that marched around the country on that day. It was well over 350,000 in various different places around the country. Now, the media are never going to be honest, but if Albo Sleazy can say, it was only 50,000, and the ABC, of course, will promote that, and so will all the other mainstream media, we need to make the figure undeniable. If that means Sydney comes to a standstill because Hyde Park fills with everybody who has been affected in some way by corrupt government and officialdom, then so be it. Okay, because I'm guarantee you the people who are driving past who do get stopped will ask why they're being stopped and what's going on, and they too will say, oh yeah, I've got a story like that. Yeah, let's just leave the car here for a while and talk more, and that'll do more to block the country. But there is a lot of division certainly in Sydney at the moment, about who gets to speak where and who gets to do what, where, and why, and we'll talk more about that shortly. But once again, please, that's not happening in Adelaide. But it all comes down to the pre-messaging, right? Before we get people to the event, they're coming to the event to fight back against corruption in government, to show they are aware of it, to show that they are angry with it, and to show that they demand accountability for it. That's the key messaging every one of these events should be focusing on. It doesn't matter what flavor of faction you are. That's the only message to get behind. We're all being screwed by the government. That simple.
Absolutely. It's interesting that this rally was put together some time ago as a global thing. So I know they're doing it in England and France and a few other countries. But it's interesting that because of the lead up having a rally that was dedicated initially supposedly to mass immigration, that particular topic gets swayed over and starts to join in with this. But then people start to, unfortunately, as you might have seen, start to go, oh, well, it's the immigrants, or it's the people from India, or it's the people from here, it's people from there. That is not the case. And that's what you're clearly stating. And the clear message here is some sort of deal's been done by the federal government to let X amount of people in from X amount of countries. I mean, I've been doing the figures and facts for a long time. I'm not opposed to people based on their race, but what I'm opposed to is, why is it that the majority are from India and then the majority of another class of visa is from China, when globally any person out there that's doing it tough in their country would really like to come to Australia? And so I have no objection to people, from wherever they come, wanting to come and live here. I have an objection to the fact that deals are being done in the background and we're not included in that process. The government do not own this country, we do. The government must converse with us honestly in what they're deciding, and then we can make informed decision. My opinion on the immigration thing is just stop it for now and have an adult conversation openly in this country about how we move forward from there. And then of course, there's the other things that come with it. Now, I spoke at the rally. It was really interesting, just me speaking, so I didn't have any notes. And I was talking about as a kid camping on the front lawn and with my sister when we were like probably 10 or 12 and saying, well, would you do that now? No. What's happened? Okay, what's happened to our country that you wouldn't do that now? You can't blame new people coming here. You can't blame the people of this country. You've got to blame the government for who they've brought in, how they've regulated it, how they've protected you in your streets, how they've addressed police and police resources, and so on. And they don't do any of those things. And I don't know if you remember, but when I was a kid, we got broken into.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Mark's phone might have died. Well, I hope that he comes back. He might just have to plug in or reboot as we go. But you get the idea. The event happening in Sunday, Victoria Square, getting underway at 12 p.m. That'll be 12:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. And Mark is the organizer there. You can get along to that. I really hope there were 20,000 or more people who turned up at the event a few weeks back. I would love to see that number double. It'd be great if we could do. I mean, I used to do the Adelaide Skyfire event, right? I can tell you how many people are capable of getting into those parklands, and 60, 70, 80,000 people very comfortably, and it is possible. And if they can turn up for a fireworks show that size in Adelaide, then let's hope they can turn up for an anti-corruption rally. Nice to have you back, Mark. Did you have to plug in?
No, someone rang or something. Sorry. I usually use the computer for this, but the computer It's not working well, so I use the phone. My apologies to everybody watching.
That's all right. So I won't hold you up any longer, though. What's your key message for people who are coming? What do they need to bring? What do you expect?
Okay, key messaging. Any problems of any kind, turn your back on it, right? We're not going to entertain any rubbish. I've got security for everything. We've got a great march. We've got great speakers. We've got really amazing live singers at the end, so we can make this an event that you'll go home and remember forever. I think that helps. The messaging is anti-government. The messaging is I want people at the end of the rally, after they've heard 5 speakers speak well about the corruption they've endured in their lives. I want you to speak to the people around you. I'll be asking people to do that and talk about those things so we can open the eyes of those public that are just waking up to the problems of our country and have a chat to them and really learn what's going on. And then we'll look at how the government responds as to how we move forward. If the government responds as we would expect them to ignore us and label us and call us names, then we're going to have to come back in bigger numbers. And next time we come back, maybe we have to look at things like not going to work, staying home. I don't know where we go from here, but either way, we should move forward united as Australians to hold the government to account, and we'll have to move forward united.
Yep, absolutely. Well, mate, if I can help in promoting the event any further for you in the lead up to it, just reach out. I'm very happy to be able to do so. And I wish you a very happy and successful event. There'll be a great deal of love going around. And my advice, as I tried to, I'm not going to be able to play it. My bloody browser's locked up. But I will, I'll play it again a bit later on. But my advice is if you find somebody saying something that you don't agree with or you think is off topic, just start chanting that Australia song. Australia, Australia. The speaker will get the right idea. If the most of the audience is singing it, they'll get the idea nobody's listening to them. And so will
Absolutely.
the organisers. You'll know the message is not getting through. Move on. Next person. That's how you regain another minute or two back each speaker, mate.
Exactly.
Right,
Thanks so much, mate. I really appreciate your time tonight. And thank you to everyone watching. Thumbs up. Stand together. Brothers and sisters. Let's stand together for our country because it's really important because when we're gone, our kids, we don't want to leave their kids the rubbish that we're enduring right now. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Stay safe.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate. That's Mark Aldridge in Adelaide. Just let me rejig my browser here for a minute. Right. We've managed to, well, yes, regain a bit of control of things that I can scroll around on the screen. There you go. Thank you to Mark for spending a little bit of time with us tonight to talk about the Adelaide event. All right, let's talk about the Sydney event, shall we? Boy, isn't there some interesting things going on in Sydney? Now, I've put a few comments. I've started a few comments here. They may not be about Sydney. Lots of fun. Wayno, I hope you're doing well. The big news is the Black Sheep is planning to come and do a tour of the mainland, and he may bring a slot car update to you. Just saying, mate. So just be careful. I might have to come to Wilmington myself when that happens. We'll organise some kind of great trip. Many people are asking questions about Mary Jane. Pettit, don't think for a moment I don't know who you are, where you are from, and who you represent. Many people are. The people who aren't asking the questions, unfortunately, are the ones who are opening their mouths the widest and have put their mouths and their words have put them in a position of significant disadvantage. And I can tell you that with great certainty and clarity because I've been a part of a lot of conversations in the last 2 days with people most unexpected, can I just say. I know all of the bullshit going on behind what's going on in Sydney between John Wilson's mob, his union, and Mary Jane's mob, the people who are putting on the event that is unified against corruption. Now, I've seen part of John Wilson's video that he put out. I want to say it was last night, or it may have been this morning. I don't know. I haven't watched it all yet. He is contradictory as usual. He's going off half-cocked as usual. And there is an element of acting that you are seeing in how he is presenting what he's presenting. Although I haven't been speaking directly with John. I've been speaking with the other protest organisers in Sydney, the ones that never got asked to be involved with this event for whatever reason. And they're the ones who are helping John and the Freedom Union put on a barbecue and some water. And I think they're bringing some toilets, which I think is a marvellous, marvellous thing. The Freedom Union will be paying for all of that. In fact, I hope that they just leave it at that. I hope they bring their barbecues. I hope the message I've got, or the conversations I had, involve 5,000 sausages. So 5,000 people will be able to be fed. And I don't know how many onions. There will be loaves. There will be no fishes. There will be water. So John Wilson is feeding the people not with loaves, fishes, and wine, although no, I won't say that. He's doing it with sausages, bread, and water. Got to be grateful. The best thing about it is, though, the toilets. Now, if they're funding a heap of toilets, I think that is a very reasonable thing to expect. People may want to use the toilet, and if you're getting a lot of people turning up in one particular place, a lot of people are likely to want to use the toilet, particularly ladies of a certain age. There never seems to be enough ladies' toilets. So I think if John and his team are truly going to support the event, then that's what they'll do. They'll bring their barbecues, they'll set up, they'll hold tongs and water and pass it out and have conversations with people going past and picking up a snag. But they will not be getting on the stage to speak. John will not be allowed to get up and say anything. And I've tried, believe it or not, I have tried very hard in the last 36 hours or more to find a way to bring the two sides of the Sydney rally together, to make time for John, but that isn't going to happen for a variety of reasons. And it's not for me to decide whether they're good, bad, or indifferent reasons. It's not my rally. I have heard a number of offers that were made, and they were very I think they were very genuine offers to be involved, to provide things for the event, to provide logistics support, basically. But the Sydney organisers do not. And it's not just Mary Jane. While she is the one who had her name on the application at court, there are 3 people behind this event for Sydney. So please don't heap all your derision, not all of it, on Mary Jane. There are others. So they have a set stage. They have a set time limit, as Mark has just been discussing. And once that time limit is reached, there's no more speakers. So there is no more room for John on the program anyway. And even if it was just 5 minutes, as Mark has alluded to, we give everybody 2 minutes. They take, 2.5, 3. Well, they don't take 2.5, 3. They take 5. And then you've got to push all that back. If you've got 40 speakers, all of a sudden you find yourself doing the Academy Awards of rallies, and everybody gets bored shitless and walks home before everybody gets heard. And that has to be avoided. That's why staying on message for me is so important. This is a message about the corrupt government exercising their authority over us. This isn't about whose dick is biggest in whichever city and can organise what, which, wherefore, and foremost. So listen, I applaud John and the Freedom Union for wanting to pet it, supply sausages, bread, and water. I will be extremely disappointed, but I'll be most interested to watch whether or not someone else provides for John, or John may well just decide to spend $30,000 on a PA system, 30,000 of the union dollars on a PA system at the park, so that he can be heard. because he will have his say. Maybe he won't, maybe he will. He could talk to everybody who wants to walk past and shake his hand while he's handing out a sausage and a glass of water. That's the only option that's available to them. And if John and his Freedom Union people are adamant that they are all about government corruption and stopping this tyranny over we the people, then this should not be a hard or bitter pill to swallow. The fact that even at its most basic, John came in late, hoping, and I'm not saying that John did come in hoping for a piece on the stage. I'm just saying this is the way it worked out. Part of the deal I was trying to bring together was to give John 5 minutes on the stage. And why was I doing that? I was trying to broker a deal, one, to see if I could, two, to maybe, it was good. The conversations that I had around this were very interesting and very informative. So if I could make it happen, it would have been a unifying, I would have hoped, event. But for varying reasons, the organisers in Sydney have decided that they don't want John to be involved. They're not sharing the stage in any way, shape or form. Now, if John can accept that, and from what I believe, there are a number of buses, or a bus, might have 5 people on it, might have 50 people on it, I don't know, going down from Brisbane to Sydney for this event and probably picking people up along the way. John himself is flying down, I'm led to believe. So, and I don't blame him. It's a bit of a battle in the car with John for over such a long distance, or in a bus, and he has done it previously. So I'm not having a go at him about that. What I am concerned about is the disruption that is potentially caused. Bearing in mind, John used to come on my program back in the days when he actually spoke to me and didn't use intermediaries, and spoke to me privately about how he engineered successful rallies. And one of his greatest traits was hiding around the corner from a big rally that was walking up the road. And just as it gets to the corner, he and his team of 20 would run out in front and hold a banner and get a photo taken in front of all the media and all that, with a line of 20,000 people behind him and their banner out front saying, whatever union he was representing at the time. Even though there was only 20 of them holding the banner up, the rest of the protest was about something else. But the photo tells tells the lie, in this case, in the media. So these tactics are old communist tactics, and you don't have to look far for old communists or even young ones to figure out how these tactics might be employed. So I would urge those people who might be considering a disruptive influence, I would urge people who think that based on a topless Aussie Cossack video, yes, he put a video out last night, and I asked a question about it today as to why he would put out a topless video. The reply that I got back was maybe he'd been at the gym. It's possible. And working out. So anyway, a topless video, interesting video. I would urge Cossack and I would urge John both to go away and understand what it is the Freedom Financial Solutions business is before you start talking any more about it. All right? Because it is just what you are trying to say about the business is going to get your asses sued. John's Freedom Union is going to lose everything. Keep going the way you're going, and you'll probably wind up like that. Understand what their business is before you go attacking it. I've also said and put into the back channels that, as far as I'm concerned, I have never seen, and I don't claim that I've ever been to too many events where Mary Jane has been speaking publicly at events like this, at freedom marches, but I've never seen her promote Freedom Financial Solutions beyond saying we're glad to be able to help to pay for the speaker today, or pay for the PA system, or pay for this sign, or pay for whatever. It is not about gathering more people to, as I believe one of the videos alluded to today, was so that they can stitch people up in investments in super funds. Self-managed super funds. That's a big difference. You need to understand what you're talking about there. Big time. And I understand that these influencers that feeling hard done by because they're not being given any time on the stage, that is a little sad. I'm sorry for you. Boo-hoo. Do I care? Not one iota, because we don't need more people on a stage speaking. I go back to what I've been saying tonight in the conversation with Mark. It's about the messaging. Now, if the messaging is all the same, if the messaging is on track with what the headline is, and let me just get the Sydney event headline: Australia unites against government corruption. Now, I don't know what John's rally was going to be called, and apparently they had plans to do it all beforehand. And look, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. This, to me, is tantamount to a primary school bitch fest. And I may not be speaking directly, or you may not be understanding what I'm saying, but trust me, the people I've been communicating with in the last couple of days will, and I mean it with great respect and humility, but it's being carried on too far in a way that is destabilizing. And why? Why do you want to be the destabilizers? To show yourselves as that destabilizing influence. Now, I applaud everybody's actions to get as many people as possible to these national events happening on the 13th. The easiest way to attract normies is using the stated aim of the rally. Australia unites against government corruption. It's in the first 5 words. That's all we need to remember. That's all you need to do at work tomorrow, around the water cooler, or having a smoke with the boys, or around the pie truck at lunchtime. Just say, hey, are you going to the rally against government corruption this weekend? Oh, no, bugger that. There'll be Nazis around. No, it's about government corruption. You know, from bureaucratic government corruption. You're the bastards in your local council who won't let you pull a tree out for the aforementioned reasons. No offense. Thank you, Wayno, to fairy penguins. And buggering your life. In exchange, they might be able to make it a bit easier for you for a fee. Australia, the land of the fee. Did you notice I was wearing my Land of the Fee t-shirt last night's show, the yellow one? I got 3 comments on how good I looked in yellow. Anyway, back on track. If you are going to one of these rallies on the weekend, and I suspect many of you are, wonderful. But can I ask you, take your brain, listen to what the speakers are speaking about. And if it is not about government corruption, if it is not about the stated goal of the event, get rid of them. Walk away. Start screaming, chanting, singing, Australia. Well, you can do Australia! Australia! And if the bastard's still talking, you can sing. And just keep talking the whole. Just going to get sick and tired of hearing that. But the more of you that sing it, if they are off topic, the better it will be for the speaker, because they'll know they've lost you. There's no point sitting there and hogging the microphone, because your message isn't getting through. You've gone off topic. You've lost the crowd. All right? And as I keep throwing up occasionally, don't throw a punch, throw your voice. Sing Australia, right? Or sing anything. I come from a land down under. Sing anything. Don't get angry. Just drown them out. That's all you've got to do. But look for the division. Look for those who want to turn up, and look for those who want to be divisive. Look for those who might turn up with, 300 megaphones and stand in front of a stage just to drown out people and make them look small, to embarrass them, to humiliate them, or to attempt to, at any rate. This is not what we do as a human race, as humanity going forward. If we ever hope to grow, we need to unite. We need to stick on topic. And that, as I was saying to Mark, is my biggest concern. None of these national protests about the same thing, bearing in mind it's all right there in the first 5 words. Australia unites against government corruption. Australia unites against government corruption. Australia unites against government corruption. It is in every one of the posters coming from every event around the country. So all the speakers that are going to be speaking, particularly now I'm talking to Melbourne, and I know Darren Bergwerf is speaking, and he will definitely be talking about the corruption in government. I urge every one of the speakers to follow his lead. But there's going to be a lot of politicians speaking in Melbourne, and there's probably going to be 1 or 2 speaking in Sydney. They may not be official politicians, but there are certainly names on the Sydney event card that would intrigue me. Well, it makes all my aerials go up. But if they're staying on topic, if they're talking about the core issue, which is government corruption, not talking about, the Nazis this or the Palestinians that, or calm down about the Indian immigration thing. No, the core issue is our government is screwing each and every living Australian, and they are screwing our next generations. That is the issue we all need to unite against. And hopefully those people in the police force, and believe it or not, I've had cause to deal with 1 or 2 of them not in the last 2 days, but recently. And some of them, well, I tell you, they're very awake. And these 2 that I was talking to are very awake to a lot of what we believe. Will they step up? Will they man up? Will they make arrests? Oh, well, there's a bit of backpedaling there. But these guys were only young. They haven't been in it very, very long. They didn't have a sergeant around to look sternly at them and warn them because there would be consequences. But it's nice to see that these 2 relatively new additions to the Queensland Police Force are much more open-minded than I expected them to be. Let's just put it that way. So watch out for the core messaging at these events. And if those people are not talking to you about the corruption in government and giving you examples of it, because every one of us probably has an example we can't think of right now, but I guarantee you these speakers, and in Sydney's case, they're basically professional speakers, and I'm not sure about Brisbane because Tricky hasn't gotten back to me. Who knew I would be ringing Tricky and saying, hey, listen, do you want to come on the show? Be still my heart. But anyway, we did have a very good conversation a week or so ago, and I thought he might come on tonight to talk about this issue for Brisbane and explain what's going to happen in Brisbane too. He still might come on one day later this week. I will make the offer available right through till Friday to him. So if you happen to know Tricky, Tristan, whatever you want to call him, let him know. The offer is open till Friday. Happy to have him on any night of the week because I'm very keen to support the Brisbane March as well, providing that everybody is talking on topic. If they're not talking on topic, find your nearest pub, find your nearest park, outside of the one where you're going to be bamboozled and bombarded with propaganda from some of these speakers, because that's what you need to be looking out for, folks. They're going to try and water down some of these people if past actions indicate future. they're going to try and water down a lot of these issues for you. They're going to try and placate you. They're going to take all the energy out of you, and they're going to take. Well, they're especially not going to use emotional or emotive language. They are not going to tell you the issues that have confronted them up front. Maybe they should. Maybe we should be having the speakers on those stages who are people who have suffered from the bashings, the burnings, the beatings, the rapes, the threats, the intimidation, the God knows whatever else that have been happening. And that's plenty of it in Melbourne, and plenty of it in every capital city. And now, unfortunately, plenty of it in our regional areas. Maybe we should be talking about how... No, I won't say that. We should be talking. That's the big thing. We should be staying on topic, talking. And if all of the speakers in your capital city, or any of the speakers in your capital city this weekend, get off the topic of corrupt government, and they start whinging about immigration, or they start whinging about anything else, they are hoodwinking you, or they're not very good public speakers at staying on topic. They are up there for ego because they like the idea of holding a microphone and standing in front of a large crowd and espousing how wonderful their words are. Well, their words mean shit if they do not unite you, if they do not inspire you, if they do not motivate you for change. And what are we asking for change? We're asking for the government to change. We're asking for the corruption to end. These are simple messages. They do not lean towards one side or the other. So it doesn't matter whether John's Freedom Union or Mary Jane's, whatever the hell that is in Sydney called, or whatever Tricky's doing in Brisbane, or whatever Mark's doing in Adelaide, or the people are doing in Perth and Darwin. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you, your next door neighbour, every person you know turns up. That's what matters. If these bastards get off topic, tell them they're off topic. You don't want to be preached to. You want to be shown. You want to be shown there is leadership, inspiration, a path, not just a party at the pub around the corner when the parade finishes on the 13th. Make this one worth it, Australia. Make it worth it. Because we've wasted so many opportunities in the past with these kinds of national events where the messaging is completely scattered at every different event. Every speaker has a different agenda. Every speaker has a different ego driving their involvement. Let's be done with that, folks. Let's take this back. Let the people speak. And if you're coming along to have one of John's sausages and you want to suck on his sav, that's great. If you want to have his glass of water, that's great. If you want to piss in his toilet, that is great. Please do. I'm thankful that he's there. But if he decides to become disruptive, if he decides to be the one that stands out and starts carrying on, or his group, as has been threatened, then call them out for what they are. That is division. That is divisive. That is ego. That is throwing all the toys out of the cot because you didn't get to step on the stage. And I find that absolutely piss weak. So childish. It's almost beyond me lowering myself to even discuss it. But I have seen a little bit of John's video. And the pure contradiction in the first, I don't know how long I was listening to it on double speed, but look, you don't want me to go and pick that video apart like I've done Arvy's, right? Because it'll just, and I'm not about doing that. I just want John and those that are backing John. And let's face it, there is really only one other tribe in Sydney that knows how to hold a protest, and I've got to say I agree. Every one of the protests or rallies or events that have been put on by the team that normally does this kind of thing have been ultra successful in attracting a great deal of people. I do not doubt that. This time around, they are not required. Another team is doing it. And if that is the biggest problem, then, I mean, put your big boy pants on and let's unite. Let's come together, arm in arm, show in show, and show we can unite. All right? There's no reason this needs to be a divisive event. Sydney should be the showcase event of the nation. We should be able to get 200,000-300,000 people. If enough of you, and I'm talking to John and everyone and his crowd and everyone associated with John and that crowd and their channels, if we all unite together here, wouldn't it be a marvelous thing if we could get 200,000 plus to that rally together? Wouldn't it be a marvelous thing if through this conversation and the ones that I've had in the last 36 hours or so, wouldn't it be wonderful to show that we can achieve unity rather than having to attack each other? All right? And I have no interest in attacking either John or his other supporters in Sydney. All right? I just find it sad that they have come out saying the things that they have done without any real knowledge. Their ego has just fired off and they're butthurt. Butthurt. That's how it comes across to me. And I understand the reasons for it. If I was in a similar position, maybe I would be the same. But this is the reality. We have to deal with it. We're big people. We're not just putting our big boy pants on. Some of us are just about ready to put on our adult diapers and pull them up a bit. So, for God's sake, you're all saying how spiritual you are and how the Lord guides us. And, well, the Lord wants us to come together. Jesus Christ wants us to unify. The good Lord needs us to come together and see those that would divide us for what they are and expel them from our midst. There is one agenda for all of these rallies across the nation. One agenda: to end government corruption in Australia. What does that look like? Well, it'll look like absolutely nothing unless we put hundreds of thousands of people on the streets around Australia this weekend. Hundreds of thousands. And that's why it's important, if Sydney wants to be a showcase event, and if those people claiming that they can bring big numbers to these events do, then let's do that. Let's bring 200,000 people. Let's bring 150,000. Let's bring 100. Look, let's bring a six-figure group to Sydney and Melbourne. Let's bring 30 to 40,000 people to Brisbane and Adelaide. Let's bring 20 to 30,000 people to Perth. Let's bring 15 to 20, maybe 30,000 people to Darwin. Let's make it impossible for the corrupt, foreign, belligerent occupiers of the government seats to deny the Australian people's feeling. We can only do that by showing numbers on the streets. We can only do that by marching through them. And I think a lot of the people in the chat, and I can't remember who said it first, but a lot of people in the chat are saying the right thing. There's no point marching around on a weekend. You've got to do it on a weekday. Well, I would tend to agree. Bring everything to a halt. All right? Make it so that people who have got to go to work don't have a choice that day. They may as well come along and hear what this corrupt government's about if it's the first time they've really discovered it. But sometimes people just need to be guided to it. All right? They need to be shown that the example that they dealt with 6 months ago when they tried to put a pool in their backyard and some pimply-faced turd from a council turned up and said, no, you've got to put in $16,000 worth of safety fences and lock every window in your house with these triple guard locks before we'll allow you to have a swimming pool. Oh, people might drown. No personal responsibility from, well, council won't let you be personally responsible, and neither will state government, neither will federal government, neither will the UN and what they want for us going down the track, a one world government. For God's sake, people, pet it. I know who you are. I love the way you keep changing your name. It's quite funny. Wake up to yourselves. Stop being the divisive factor and stop gaslighting us, okay? Saying, oh, we're doing these wonderful things. Isn't it great that John is doing this? Yes, it is great. What do you want? Round of applause? Thank you. I'm genuine. Thank you. And I'm sure many people, as they're taking one of your 5,000 sausages off your hot plate and out of your hot little hand over the weekend, will thank you as well. I really hope they do. And John will be able to stand there and hold court, because a line for 5,000 sausages is going to be pretty good. He'll be able to just shuffle up and down that line and have a conversation with everybody. And that's a lot of voices and a lot of people he might convince to join his union. And I really hope he doesn't go to the expense, the union's money, of buying out the biggest PA in Sydney and trying to blow everybody else out of the park with it. I mean, that's just a possibility. That's what you could do if you were really angry and you had access to a lot of money. If you were childish and you wanted to throw all your toys out of the cot at the same time, that's, yeah, pretty much what I'd do too. But there is a better thing to do. Thank you, Scotty. Yep. John Wilson, the old pirate's having a sausage party. There's nothing too surprising about that, sadly, isn't it? Anyway, Wayne, you hope we can start the rally with a mass prayer. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I'm not sure the people who are holding the rallies are actually into Jesus. I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that, like so many other things, Jesus, God, are not at the forefront of thoughts. And that's where the spiritual war that we've been talking about for so long is realized. But what did they say in the classics? That's another story. And we might have to leave that for another night, because as I gaze over, I've already gone over time again. God, these long shows, folks, you keep me talking. So prayers for Margie Sedgman, please, as she goes through her surgery tomorrow, and obviously the other trials and tribulations that she is having. I would also ask you to offer prayers up for Black Sheep and his next day or two. He lays his dad to rest tomorrow. I know that he'll have some friends around him. He's not what you would call overly endowed with friends and family down in Taswegia, but I know that one of us will be there to be there with him tomorrow. And we can't thank you, Rachel, enough for your involvement there. Love you to bits, girl. I wish I could be down there with you, man. I really could. I would really do wish I could be down there. I did try, but it's just not possible funding it at the moment and everything else that's going on. So, Rachel, thank you for that. And prayers too for Paul Offey, who must be going through a hell of a time at the moment. I think a lot of support should be issued to Paul. A lot of prayers have to go through to Paul, and I think I've been pretty decent in not bringing Paul up in some of the conversations that I've had with people over the last few days. But I do believe that there is a bit of pressure being placed on certain individuals to come out and support Paul a bit more. I hope that that happens. He might need it. It's a long way from where he is to being found not guilty on everything. And we need all the support we can get to get him and those who are helping him most at the moment, his legal team, which consists of his brother and another fella, and a few phone calls from people who offer to help at night. This is a travesty of justice that Paul has had to represent himself in this trial. And and all for lack of money, and all because of charges that I believe, well, maybe I shouldn't comment on it while the thing's still open. I get myself in a lot of trouble. But we will be talking a lot about this in the days and weeks ahead when I am able to get a transcript, and we will go through the whole thing. And should it not go the way that we are praying it goes, with a not guilty verdict, or at the very best a hung jury, then we'll be praying and putting together some very considerable appeals action in the very near future too. And we'll be asking for your help financially to see if we can help do that. We might increase our prize here on the lottery so that we can split some money and help put money into Paul's legal fund. Because if he is found guilty, he is going to jail. He is going to jail. And that would be such a travesty of justice. All right, folks. Thank you very much for your support. Please, if you can help us, we are selling those lottery tickets at merch.vofhq.com. They are $2 each. You can buy up to 20 of them. I think we've got about 200 left. And if you could push that one through rather quickly, that'd be great. We're going to give away $750 and 10 1/10 of an ounce silver coins, thanks to Ainsley Bullion. Silver today, well, it dropped down a little bit. It's punched up again. I saw it below 61 or $61 something earlier. It's now sitting at $62.29. It was up to $62.53 there before. Gold is the interesting one. It's back through $5,500. It's at $5,520 and doesn't look like it's going backwards in any way, shape or form. You remember, of course, if you go online to ainsleyBullion.com.au and you buy online now, you pay that price. It's locked in. So if the price goes up overnight, you're not going to get charged that when they open the doors at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning and fill your order. Your price at right now when you order is the price you pay. It doesn't change. Speaking of the price you pay, well, it does change. Our Voice of Freedom 1/10 rounds are going to be sent out in the next day or two. I'm just trying to look where I've got them. I put them away. Oh no, here's one I prepared earlier. I'm going to be sending those out. I haven't sent the email out to you yet, folks. We are going to add postage and handling, which I haven't been into the post office to check yet, but I think it will be somewhere like $9 over and above your $100 that you'll pay for these. And at the moment, these are each one of these coins is worth about $9.20, I think, from memory. So you're certainly getting value for money out of those at the moment. If you want one, folks, then give us a line. Drop us a line, carl@vofhq.com, and we will be able to sort you out. Vince is printing more of those magnificent blue silk custom holders, and they do look absolutely wonderful. So I'll be getting those sorted out and out to those of you who've already made some orders. And the next group, I think, will be sent off probably later toward the end of this week or maybe early next week, and I'll be able to fulfill the rest of those orders. So jump on, folks. We need to know how many of these things we've got to print. Be safe on the roads if you're heading out there tomorrow or even tonight, and avoid the dickheads. Have a good night, bye.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!